flag football is not a real sport. That's something that a nice troll on Instagram commented on one of our videos, which is ironic because the video they commented on was about how the NFL and TMRW Sports have raised nearly $200 million to launch pro leagues. But setting aside that comments like this seem to be popping up a lot, I thought I would take a moment to address it and think about it a little more and think about the terms real sports and what that actually means. I was going to respond to the user and say, well, 20 million people across 100 countries disagree with you. But instead, I thought I would dedicate a little podcast to all the flag football haters over there. So, real sports, what does that mean? Well, the word real means having objective, independent existence or occurring or existing in actuality, according to Merriam-Webster. And the term sport means a contest or game in which people do certain physical activities according to a specific set of rules and compete against each other. So just that alone sounds like, by definition, I think flag football meets the definition of a real sport. But if that wasn't enough, I want to cover 3 stories that I think establish that flag football is in fact a real sport and is becoming more real every day. So the first story would be just a recapture of the NFL flag championships. So last weekend, 325 teams converged in Indiana for the 2026 NFL flag championships. There was a girls' high school championship, and the Los Angeles Seahawks beat the Austin Texans 15-14 in overtime for the boys' 14 and under title. The Ocala Bucks beat the New York City Ravens 33-21, and Canada took the international 15 and under co-ed bracket 19-13 over Mexico. So ESPN and its partners carried 34 games from Westfield, Indiana, and according to my research, 14.3 million unique viewers across ABC, ESPN, and Disney watched the NFL flag championships last weekend. 14 million. For comparison, Game 1 of the NBA Finals, this most recent NBA Finals, drew around 16 million viewers. So 14 million for the NFL flag championship, 16 million for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. That's a pretty good number. And looking a little bit deeper, the girls' high school championship game, which aired on ABC, that averaged about 1.12 million viewers, with a peak of 1.3 million viewers, and apparently was the most watched flag football game on record. So with all that in mind, I have to ask, is flag football a real sport yet? Story number 2, TMRW Sports, which is the company that's teamed up with the NFL to launch pro leagues next year, they made a couple of splashy big name hires for their flag football pro league. So again, TMRW Sports, this is Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy's company that is behind a lot of the TGL. They have partnered up with the NFL to launch the pro leagues next year, and about 10 days ago or so, they named Brendan Donahue its first president of flag football. Then about 9 days later, they added Champ Kelly as their senior vice president of flag football operations. So each of these guys is very seriously into sports, and they have pretty impressive resumes when it comes to sports. So Brendan Donahue, he spent about 3 decades in the business of basketball. He launched the NBA 2K League in 2017, and he basically grew that to 17 NBA-owned franchises, up all the way to 25 teams. And he has a lot of experience in business with the NBA League and league office and others. And then the Champ really has a long history in professional football. So he was a college scout for the Denver Broncos, then assistant coordinator of pro and college scouting. He worked with the Chicago Bears as director of pro scouting and assistant director of player personnel. Then he was more recently with the Las Vegas Raiders as assistant GM, and as well as the Miami Dolphins in 2025. and he's been brought on by TMRW Sports to oversee player personnel, coaching, officiating, and team administration for the flag football leagues. So TMRW Sports is very clearly taking this seriously, and so we have to ask again, is flag football still not a real sport? Story number 3. This is more local, but still impressive nonetheless, and that is the growth of flag football in Indiana at the high school level. So the Indianapolis Colts had launched a $1 million initiative to grow Indiana girls flag football up to 100 schools. So back in 2023, only 8 high schools in Indiana had flag football teams, and they have finally broken the 100 team threshold, and they are now to 108 teams. So 8 teams in 2023, and now we are up to 108 teams in 2026. And that 100 team threshold is really important because now the Indiana High School Athletic Association is allowed to officially sanction flag football as a championship sport. So that's all happened just in the scope of 3 years. So again, we have to ask, is flag football still not a real sport? Those are the stories I wanted to hit today. I wanted to give a shout out to all the haters and the trolls out there. It's pretty fun. And it's really interesting that that there's people who are still in doubt about what's happening. But again, that's just an indication of how early we are. So flag football will do its thing. It will continue to grow. It is a rocket ship, and we all get to ride along. That's it for me today. Thank you, everyone.